Captain's log, stardate 5466.9. The Enterprise is in orbit around the outpost colony world of Ribble 2 on orders from the Federation Agricultural Division to try and find a solution to the destructive plague of Dranzes, which wipes out 70 to 90% of the grain crop every 6th year. A landing party of Dr. McCoy, First Officer Spock, and myself has beamed down to the Ribolian surface to survey the problem firsthand. Mr. Newt Henderson of the Ribolian Settlers League has taken us in hand. Mr. Henderson, you realize that none of us has ever seen a Dranzer.
So, if you knew Dranzers, Captain Kirk, you wouldn't wonder why we're making this little trip by air instead of on land.
I confess that I am surprised at the lack of information on such a dangerous creature, Mr. Henderson. Starfleet records are of little help.
Let's see if I can fill you in then, Mr. Spock, Button. A Dranzer looks like a cross between a pig and a buffalo. They have long black hair, flat quadruple horns, an ugly disposition, and are about half the size of an earthly elephant.
It's their size which makes them a threat.
Yeah, and the fact that they breed like rabbits. When this world was first settled 12 years ago, they weren't considered a danger. They stayed in the hilly grasslands on the western part of this continent. We grow our grain in the central and eastern plains regions. Everything was fine until 6 years ago. We noticed then that the Dranzers were so thick they nearly walked on each other. But we had no reason to suspect they would.
Come out onto the plains and trample the fields.
Just so. We don't know why. Too many Dranzers, too little food maybe, but they panicked. Came down out of the hills like a black avalanche and ruined the whole crop for that year. Nearly ruined the colony. But we hung on, replanted, and have done well since then. Except...
It's 6 more years and the Dranzer population is up again, and you expect another continent-wide stampede.
Yeah. Ah, there they are. Now, you see what I mean. I'll cut our engine and go gliding over them. Otherwise, the noise is liable to start the stampede.
Like locusts.
There must be thousands of them.
Millions, Captain.
I'm going to have to pull us out of here, gentlemen. Our shadow is making them nervous.
Never mind. I think we've seen enough to give us some idea of the size of your problem, Mr. Henderson.
Petitioning Starfleet for help for years.
What about simply reducing the herds to selected crew?
No. We tried that 3 years ago when the herds first began to grow too big again. For one thing, it started a premature stampede which ruined several thousand square kilometers of maturing foothill cropland. As you might guess, the farmers in that area won't permit a repetition of that disaster. But there's another more important reason.
Which is?
There's a high grass which germinates in the hills. It will take over the plains, except that the Dranzer herds keep it patrolling. If we were to kill off the Dranzers, our agriculture experts tell us that in a decade, the grass will take over every meter of arable land on the continent. We have to find some way of controlling the Dranzers without letting the grass get out of control. But if we leave the natural cycle alone, the racial stampede will occur within a half year, and we'll lose another entire year's crop.
Mr. Spock, reactions?
At first glance, the problem would appear insoluble, Captain.
That's not what we pay taxes to here, Mr. Spock.
I fear that government is rarely run according to scientific principles, Mr. Henderson. But we must do something.
I hope so, Mr. Spock, Captain Kirk. I sincerely hope so.
You said the full stampede was expected within 6 months.
It could happen tomorrow, too. Or next week, according to the biostatisticians. The herds are already at critical size.
That does not give us much time to theorize prospective solutions.
That's not our fault. We have been trying to get some action out of Starfleet for years.
Starfleet has many concerns, sir. We'll do the best we can for you.
Captain Kirk, we've got several 100,000 kilometers of ripe food grains just about ready for harvesting, and they could be trampled into compost any day now. If it is, you'd better believe your superiors are going to hear of it.
Old-fashioned doorways, they still have here.
And if Henderson is typical of the Ribolian settlers, the people are pretty old-fashioned themselves. Such folk don't take catastrophe quietly. He's right. They can make trouble for us with headquarters.
Well, what do they expect from us, Bones? We're not responsible for the ecological setup on this world. The Dranzer Stampede never bothered anyone until the colony here expanded to bring 2/3 of this continent under intensive cultivation.
True, Captain. Bear in mind that the Dranzers do not vote. I have, however, thought of a possible solution, which will only bend and not tear the natural fabric of this planet.
Well,
It involves a considerable risk on the part of those involved, Captain.
Wait a minute, Spock. If this is something you regard as a considerable risk, I'm not sure I want any part of it.
I'm afraid that your knowledge of organic chemistry is required, Doctor. But first, we must capture a large Dranzer, the largest Dranzer we can.
Capture one? What on Ribble for?
The explanation derives logically, Doctor.
You wanted to see me, Captain Kirk?
yes, Henderson. Spock and Dr. McCoy beamed up to the Enterprise and have been working around the clock on your problem. They think they've come up with a solution. First, we need a number of those high-speed ground vehicles your people use.
Wait a minute now. We asked for Federation aid. Why should we have to supply...
You want us to stop this stampede or not?
All right. If that's what you need, you'll have them. But by heaven, those ground cars are specially built for high-speed travel on Ribolian terrain. If you get them banged up...
Take it easy, Henderson. We'll take care of your precious vehicles.
And now, I'd like to hear this miracle your people have produced.
They should be beaming down any minute now. I'll let them tell you about it in person.
Here it is, Jim.
That's all? That one little tank? It can't hold more than a couple of liters of what's in it anyway?
1.8 liters, to be precise. But that will be sufficient.
You mean you're going to stop the stampede of several million Dranzers with this?
Not stop, Mr. Henderson. Divert.
Divert? Assuming that this little pop bottle of whatever it is can do anything, where do you propose to divert the herds to? And keep them diverted? They've been stampeding, according to the best evidence, in the same paths across the continent for thousands, millions of years.
All will become clear, sir. Captain, have we the properly equipped vehicles?
Standing by, Spock, with local drivers. When I explained what we were going to do, most of our would-be volunteers quietly disappeared. The drivers we have left are brave people.
Excellent. Then all that is left is to transfer a portion of the liquid in this container into the equipment on each vehicle. Then...
Come in.
Just got this from the Deloutre family ranch in the northwest quadrant. One of their outposters for scouting up in the hills.
Thanks, Ellie.
Well, what does it say?
We're too late. You're too late. I should have known not to rely on Starfleet again. The stampede's already begun.
Then we have no time to waste, gentlemen. Captain, Dr. McCoy, you will each command one set of vehicles. Mr. Henderson, how much time have we before the herd leaders reach the first grain fields? In case we fail, these areas should stand by to evacuate.
Wait a minute. You don't propose to try something now. You can't expect to stop several million animals already in full stampede.
I said divert. Remember, not stop. Captain, Dr. McCoy, are we ready?
I hope you know what you're doing, Spock. If this doesn't work, they're going to have to scrape us off the ground.
If it doesn't work, a lot of people here will be ruined, Doctor, and many elsewhere will go hungry. It must work. Besides, the percentages are in our favor. They are...
Never mind. I don't want to hear. I might want to back out.
Of course, everything depends on your accurate synthesis of the necessary liquid.
Thanks, Spock.
I hope your Mr. Spock knows what he's doing, Captain.
He usually does, Henderson.
Better this time. There's no way out for us, you know. We can't go right or left to escape the herds. If this doesn't work, we've had it. Look back here, out the rear window. See that dust cloud?
Looks like a storm coming towards us.
There must be 100 million animals in full stampede along a 2,000-kilometer long front, and they average about 2 tons apiece. Do you know what they'll do to this vehicle and us if they overtake us? There won't be enough left of us to keep up.
Captain.
Here, Spock. Ready at Station 1.
Very good, Captain. I'm approximately 600 kilometers due north of your position. Dr. McCoy's group is a similar distance north of mine. Can you see the herd?
We can see the dust cloud they're raising.
Good. On my signal, you will activate the sealed tanks on your vehicles and start along the charted course.
Check, Mr. Spock.
Dr. McCoy?
I heard, Spock. We're all set at this end. Jim?
I'm here, Bones.
This idea of Spock fails, I want his corpse court-martialed.
Appropriate action will be taken, Bones.
How long is he going to wait?
Until he's sure the timing is right.
Time! Look behind us again! The dust is beginning to blot out the sun. Pretty soon we'll see the front wall of the herd. Do you know how far and how fast a Dranzer can run, Captain? If we run out of or have a mechanical problem, or this crazy idea doesn't work, we've no place to run.
Relax, Henderson. Spock knows what he's doing. I hope.
I can make out individual animals now. They'll be on us in another few minutes. Here, you, Commander Spock. What's going on? What are you waiting for?
The correct moment, Mr. Henderson.
Correct moment! Look, in another couple of minutes, we're all going to be a smear on the landscape. If you don't...
Very well. Captain, Dr. McCoy, you may open the valves on your tanks.
Check, Spock.
You can smell it even in here. What is that canister anyway?
Spock discovered the Dranzers have very poor eyesight. The herd leaders produce a musky odor which the others follow. He had Dr. McCoy mix up a batch of synthetic Dranzer musk, only concentrated several 100,000 times. To the animals leading the herd, we must smell like the most authoritative Dranzer that ever lived. The same smell is being released by Mr. Spock's and Dr. McCoy's group of vehicles along the whole front of the herd. You have our course plotted?
Yes.
Then let's get moving.
With pleasure.
Captain,
It's working, Spock. They're turning slightly. Yes, they're following us.
here also, Captain.
Here. Good work, Spock.
We are not secure yet, gentlemen.
Captain, we can't keep this up forever. We've been running at this speed for nearly a whole day. Even with the expert mechanisms I have installed, we can't continue at this speed much longer. We've covered so much territory already. It is dusted. Hey, what's that up ahead?
Henderson, leave that wheel alone. What are you doing?
Don't you see? We're headed right into them again. They're behind us, too. We're trapped. Don't you see? We're trapped.
Get a hold of yourself, Henderson. That's not another herd. That's the back end of the herd following us.
Back in? Following us?
Captain, all vehicles stand by to execute final maneuver.
Ready, Spock.
Ready?
I don't understand.
Look behind us now.
It's the herd, but they're passing behind us. They're not following anymore.
That's right, Henderson. Spock knew we couldn't kill the Dranzers off, so the stampede had to take place. But nothing said it had to follow the same old paths. Check our course. See, we've led the herds in a full circle. Our scent tanks are empty, and now the animals in the front of the herd are following the scent of those at the back of the same herd. They should keep running in a circle like a dog chasing its own tail until they run themselves out. The threat to your crops is over, and next year the normal number of surviving Dranzers will keep the high grass from growing down into the plains.
Control Group 3 to Group 2. Group 3 calling Group 2.
Group 2 here. Is that you, Landowner Henderson?
Mr. Spock, please accept my personal apology, along with the thanks of every farmer on Ribble 2. You've solved our problem, now and for the future.
You're welcome, Mr. Henderson. But there is a penalty.
Penalty?
One cannot alter nature without reaping consequences. The millions of dead Dranzers which used to scatter across the great plains of this continent will not lie in your fields this year. Their bodies used to fertilize the ground. Now, you must move the corpses to your fields or import artificial fertilizers if you expect your fields to keep producing good grain in the future.
But, Mr. Spock, that means moving 100 million Dranzer bodies.
A considerable task. Group 2 out.
200 million tons. Captain, do you think that Starfleet...
I'm sorry. Starfleet has saved your crops for you, but even Starfleet can only do so much. You're going to have to learn to help yourselves a little, too. Now, I suggest you get in touch with the rest of your neighbors and fellow farmers. The sooner you begin moving those bodies behind us, the better. Because if all those bodies begin to decompose in one place, and if the wind changes, you're going to have a very good grain crop, but an awfully smelly year. Captain's log, stardate 5468.2. A request has been received at Starfleet headquarters from a recently contacted civilization, the system of Marpaplu. for accreditation as an associate member of the United Federation of Planets. The Enterprise has been ordered to Mapaplu to consider final processing of the Mapapluan application.
What are the Mapapluans like, Captain?
This will be the first time we've ever met one in person, Mr. Scott. But from the records I've reviewed, they're supposed to be remarkably good-natured and friendly. Stand by to energize.
Standing by, Captain.
Message from the surface, sir. Their representative is ready to beam up.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Energize, Mr. Scott.
Energizing, Captain.
There's someone in there. Can't make them out yet. Oh, there he is.
Greetings, gentle beings.
Humanoid, all right, Captain, but they're not very big. I got a 10-year-old cousin about that size.
Shh, Mr. Scott. They may be sensitive about their size. How do you do,
Your consulship will do, sir. You must be Captain James Kirk. 1,000, 10,000 pleasant, happy thoughts to you. I am Consul Knight Hausnick of the Marpapluan World's government. It's my extreme good fortune and pleasure to greet you on behalf of my people to present our application for associate membership in your esteemed organization. What do you think, Spock?
They are evidently as friendly as their communications indicated, Doctor. I'd say the Marpapluans will be a good addition to the Federation.
I extend the good wishes and greetings of my government to all the citizens of Mapaplu and welcome you, Consul Hausnick, aboard the Enterprise. Would you like to see what your world looks like on a Federation cruiser scanner?
Oh, yes, of course I would.
This way, then. Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, if you'll accompany us to the bridge.
Wonderful. This is wonderful. This is where your ship is controlled from, then.
Correct, your consulship. Over there you see engineering. That is the helm, Lieutenant Sulu, currently on station.
How do you do today, sir?
Just fine, thank you.
And back here is communications, Lieutenant Uhura in charge.
A great pleasure, madam. That is a female of your species, Captain?
Yes.
I am charmed beyond words, Uhurashi.
Me too.
And this here must be the captain's position.
Correct again.
These switches and controls here on the arms of this chair, what are they for?
Well, if you activate these here... if you press this one...
Jim, you all right?
I'm fine, Bones. What makes you think anything is... wrong?
Captain, despite Consul Hausnick's good nature, I fail to see the reason for such unwarranted hysteria on your part. It is not in keeping with diplomatic traditions of first contact.
Mr. Spock, are you accusing me of improper conduct at a serious time? And I see what you mean, Spock. Perhaps something is wrong.
Wrong? Wrong? What could be wrong?
Nothing, your consulship. I assure you everything is perfectly all right. Isn't it, Bones?
I don't know. What are you scratching at, Jim?
Scratching, Bones?
Yes, you've been scratching at yourself. At your side, under your arms, around your waist, ever since we entered the bridge. Aren't you aware of it?
Well, I guess I...
There! You did it again! It's almost as if you...
As if I what, Bones?
You too, Doctor?
Me too what, Spock?
Captain, something very peculiar is going on. I think...
Just a minute, Mr. Spock. Bridge captain speaking.
Engineering, Scott here.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Is something funny, Captain?
Please, Scotty, go ahead and report.
Standard engineering status update, sir. On Warp Engine 1, minor repairs completed.
What was that, Mr. Scott?
It's only...
Mr. Scott, you may deliver your report when you regain control of yourself. Until then...
But, Captain,
Bridge, out. I must apologize for that, Consul Hausnick.
Apologize? What is there to apologize for, Captain?
The standard of efficiency on a Federation cruiser is normally...
Definitely something peculiar here.
Captain, should I?
What's so funny, Lieutenant?
I don't know, Captain.
What are you scratching at?
Captain, something is very wrong.
I can see that, Mr. Spock. Sulu, Uhura, everyone on the bridge is laughing themselves silly, and I can't see what's funny about it. However, I do have this peculiar crawly feeling.
Crawly feeling, Captain? I have it too.
Bones, the diplomatic situation we have here.
Captain, reports are coming in from all over the ship. Every deck and section. Outbreaks of uncontrolled laughter accompanied by persistent itch-like tickling all over the body. Several sections already report that their operating efficiency has been affected by the mounting hysteria.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Keep monitoring the situation and report if things become more serious.
Aye, sir.
See, Jim, there's no avoiding it.
No need to be concerned, Captain Kirk. I'll be happy to go along with Dr. McCoy. Is there something the matter?
There is, but it may have nothing to do with you, your consulship.
But you greeted Captain Kirk first, sir. Now, let's go down and check it out.
You found something, Doctor?
I think so, Spock. Come over and have a look through the microscope, Captain.
It looks like hundreds of tiny bugs, Bones.
That's exactly what they are, Jim. They exhibit many characteristics of fleas, but they're much smaller and tougher. I've tried everything in our anti-bug arsenal. Our most potent poisons don't even make them sleepy. Now, the first sample was taken, with his kind permission, from Consul Hausneck's skin. This one's from my own epidermis.
Bugs? Let me see. Why, they're only Meegees.
Meegees?
Naturally. Everyone has his own quota of Meegees. Don't they? Don't you?
I am sorry to have to inform you, Consul Hausneck, that Meegees appear to be unique to Marpaplu.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. We've always had Meegees, so we've always assumed everyone had Meegees.
Well, everyone on board has them now. And while I'm sure you'll get along fine with your Meegees, your consulship, we have no desire to share them with your people. This laughter is physically dangerous. Some of us are already so weak we're in danger of laughing ourselves to death. Just because Meegees seem to tickle rather than bite, that makes them no less dangerous to us.
Oh, sorry, I am, had we known.
Yes, but you didn't. It's too late now. The entire ship has been affected. Don't your Meegees ever trouble you? I don't see you scratching them.
Scratch? But why? Our Meegees never move about nervously on us. We keep them quite happy. Meegees thrive on happy thoughts. If you will think only happy thinking, they will stop moving about on your bodies and trying to make you happy.
So that's it. The Meegees are emotional parasites feeding on the contentment of their hosts.
Wonderful. But how can I think happy thoughts when I'm getting madder and madder?
See, Captain, the angrier you are, the harder the Meegees move, tickle, trying to force you into a happy mood. Even a well-meaning parasite is still a parasite. Consul Hausneck, why not rid yourselves of these Meegees?
Why would anyone want to rid themselves of Meegees?
Because they're driving us crazy.
But the Meegees ensure that our people think only satisfied thoughts. True, this may have held us back in certain areas of our development, but we have no wars, no crime.
I'm sorry, your consulship, but I'm afraid it's too late for us to adapt to the Meegees' way of living. For better or worse, we're stuck with our emotions.
With exceptions.
Yes. Now, if you'll just tell us what to use to get rid of Meegees.
I'm sorry, Captain Kirk, but we discovered long ago that Meegees are immune to every known type of spray, antibiotic, and poison. That's one reason we've learned to live with them. We've had to. But of course, we like it now. There are one or two poisons strong enough to kill Meegees. Unfortunately, they also kill the Meegees' host. And when he dies, the Meegees migrate to a new person.
Bones, you're sure we've nothing that will kill them?
That's as Counselor Hausneck said, Jim. I've got samples of 235 different chemicals for use on parasitic pests. I have to report that there are 235 different chemicals which Meegees are immune to. There are certain things which will work.
For example?
Spraying them with hydrochloric acid.
I think we'll pass that one up, Bones.
And that was the mildest successful treatment I could come up with.
But we've got to come up with something. Soon it's going to become impossible to operate the Enterprise properly with everyone rolling on the deck in stitches.
I'm sorry, Jim. I've tried everything in the antidote banks, and records offers no hope of finding something effective.
Sorrowful I am.
It's not your fault, Counselor. What is it, Scotty?
I had it, Captain. Half of my second shift is strapped in their bunks, shaking themselves apart with amusement. The other shifts aren't much better off. I cannot monitor the engine properly. The ship's general functions are going to pieces. Captain, I don't know what to do anymore. It's all so hopeless.
I know, Scotty. How do you fight a microscopic joke?
I don't know what to do. I'm at my wits' end.
Take it easy, Scotty. Everything will be all right in the end.
Possibly. Possibly. If we assume it will not.
What do you mean, Spock?
You will notice that Mr. Scott is neither laughing nor scratching at himself, Dr. McCoy.
Don't try to cheer me up, Mr. Spock. It's good of you, but I tell you, I haven't been this depressed since... Here, Dr. McCoy, what are you doing?
Just taking a little skin sample, Mr. Scott. Don't pay any attention to me. You were saying?
It's just that I haven't seen such a sorry state of affairs in engineering since I entered the service. People laughing themselves sick over nothing. The mistakes they make in reading simple gauges, it's enough to make a man cry.
Excuse us a minute, Scotty. Jim, Spock, take a look at this. Don't stop, Scotty. We're still listening.
It looks like the Meeges, but they've stopped moving. They're dead. But how? Why? Scotty,
Yes, Captain.
have you exposed yourself to any strong radiation since the counselor came on board?
Why, no, sir. Nothing like that. Why do you ask?
You haven't worked in an irradiated chamber or handled any radiant materials?
No, Captain. Only my usual duties.
And they're definitely dead, Bones. I just don't understand how.
Wait a minute, Jim. Consul Hausnick, you confirmed that the Meeges were emotional parasites. You said they feed on happy thoughts and pleasant musings. That is correct, McCoy Doctor, sir. But now, don't you see, Jim, that's it. Mr. Scott's been so depressed and saddened from the beginning of the epidemic that his sadness overwhelmed his Meeges. He starved them to death for lack of laughter.
Bones, I think you're right. You must be right.
Captain, I didn't understand.
That's okay, Scotty. Just keep on being miserable. Now hear this, all hands. This is the captain speaking. The plague of laughter which has infected the Enterprise is caused by a tiny bug called a Meege, brought up from the world below us. These invaders can be destroyed. They feed on laughter. Everyone is therefore directed to think only sad, unhappy thoughts. This is an order. Think of something terribly depressing, an illness in your family, a sad incident from your childhood, anything which will make you want to cry. You know, Bones, that was the saddest order I've ever had to give.
I realize that, Jim. It makes me want to cry, too.
You two, stop it. You're only depressing me further.
I do not believe depressing is wholly an accurate description in this case, Doctor. But it is certainly the strangest prescription I have ever heard you give.
Jim, I don't feel like laughing anymore.
I think that did it, Bones. It worked fast. Probably the Meeges aren't ready for such concentrated misery. They get only happy thoughts on Mappa Blue. Isn't that so, Consul Hausnick?
Yes, of course, Captain Kirk. In fact, I don't seem to have the comfortable feeling of my own Meeges about me.
Don't worry. I'm sure you'll regain a thriving colony as soon as you beam back home. No harm done. We can officially conclude the treaty now, if you wish.
Indeed I do, Captain. But let us hurry. I feel deserted without Meeges.
We'll hurry, but there's one provision that must be added to the treaty. Captain's Log Supplemental. The Treaty of Friendship has been concluded with the system of Mappa Blue, and said people have been accepted for official associate membership in the United Federation of Planets, while agreeing to remain under temporary quarantine until safety precautions for preventing the spread of the parasitic Meeges can be developed. End log entry. Well, Bones, I think the Mappa Bluans have a lot to offer the Federation.
From a distance, of course. I've heard of infectious humor, but I never thought of having to take it literally.
Yes, Bones. We'll have to be careful for a while in our dealings with Consul Hausnick's people. Mappa Blue is just a bit too friendly for comfort at the moment.
There's just one thing troubling me, Jim.
What's that, Bones?
It's Mr. Spock. He didn't manifest any symptoms of Meeges. No laughter, no ticklish scratching, and he must have been infected as well.
Is it so surprising that the superior Vulcan system should prove immune to a disease affecting lower physical orders?
But, Mr. Spock, I'm certain I heard you giggle.
I beg your pardon, Lieutenant. You must be mistaken.
No, I'm not. I distinctly heard you giggle.
Spock? Giggling? Come on, Spock. Giggle for us again.
Dr. McCoy, I do not, will not, and never have giggled. And now, if Lieutenant Uhura has had her fun, I have important work to attend to.